News now, Syrian rebels backed by Turkish forces have now entered the town of Al-Bab. If the Islamic State group outpost falls to the rebels, it will likely expand the buffer zone Turkey has created near its border. Well, for more on this story, let's cross to Beirut, where our correspondent Adam Pletts is standing by for us. Adam, what more can you tell us about this battle for Al-Bab?
Well, there's two separate and opposed forces closing in on the town of Al-Bab, which, of course, is the last stronghold of Islamic State group in Aleppo province. So firstly, to the north and the west, you have Turkish-backed opposition fighters. So we're talking about members of the Free Syrian Army there with Turkish artillery and airstrike support. But the Turks also have troops on the ground, and that alliance has actually entered the western parts of Al-Bab town. But then you also have Syrian government forces and aligned militia with Russian air support approaching from the south. They haven't actually entered the town yet, and it's unclear whether they'll try to do so. But the question is, as these two forces come into close proximity in an active combat zone, once they've ejected the Islamic State group, will that then lead to renewed fighting between the government and opposition? Now, to this point, that largely hasn't taken place. There have been some skirmishes, but it seems some sort of an understanding has been reached, however tacitly, to prevent that happening. And this has come by way of pressure from the Turks and the Russians, who, of course, support these two opposing sides respectively. And it's in neither of their interests, the Russians or the Turks, their strategic interests, to see this fighting flare up again between the government and the opposition in this area.
Well, another question, Adam, could even be, why are the Turks even part of this battle?
In late August last year, the Turks set up what they've called Operation Euphrates Shield, which comprises an alliance, as we were just saying, of these Free Syrian Army fighters with this Turkish backing, including troops on the ground. In fact, they've lost some 66 soldiers to date so far, the Turks, in this operation. And that operation has two aims. Firstly, to create a buffer zone south of their border in the area where Islamic State group were operating. But then secondly, and perhaps more importantly strategically for the Turks, is to prevent Kurdish forces linking up. They have control of the territory to the east and to the west of this buffer. That would give them complete control of the border south of Turkey, something which the Turks would find unacceptable, given that they see these Kurdish fighters in Syria as an extension of the PKK, who, of course, the Turks consider as terrorists.
Adam Pletts reporting from Beirut this morning. Thanks very much for bringing us up to date on that subject. We're going to move to